And we're on YouTube and Facebook, right? internet should change from time to time. Okay. It's just no pen and paper. I had one right there. All praise is due to Allah. Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah.
Salam.
There's my sister, Sister Sajdah Wendy Muhammad of the Sajdah House. We open in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. We bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. We again greet you with the greeting words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum. I pray all can hear fine, and inshallah, we have our dear sister, Sister Sajdah Wendy Muhammad of the Sajdah House, which is if you don't know by now, it is a beautiful, heartfelt, completely, it seems to be consuming effort, which is now manifesting itself into a clear reality of the transformation and preservation of the home of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. His original home at 4847 South Woodlawn Avenue in Chicago. This historic effort is one that has been, praise be to Allah, one that has seen a lot of success in the early stages. I'm going to save that. Many of you have tuned in last time when we were with our sister as she explained the detail behind what it has taken to preserve the home, down to the bricks, turning them around so that the clean side is facing out, doing things with the windows, refinishing completely the whole exterior. If you would like to go back to hear more about some of those details, which we can touch on today as well, about the process of restoration, please review or replay our previous talk with our dear sister Sajdah. Today, inshallah, we wanted to start again by greeting our sister, welcoming her, and getting some of the updates. The next phase is where are we at right now with this process. Praise be to Allah. So I'm going to bring our dear sister on, and inshallah, we do want to make sure that you, as a listening community, our brothers and sisters, that many regulars that are on line with us, please feel free to ask any question. We will do our best to get to it. We're going to do our best also to make the conversation fluid, where we bring you in throughout the call, throughout the program, to either share comments or ask questions. But first of all, we would like to hear from our dear sister, Sister Sajdah Wendy Muhammad. And I'm going to start by asking our dear sister just to tell us a little bit about the aspect of preservation that doesn't necessarily include the physical. You went through the preservation aspect of the home, of the exterior, the fireplace, the stone, the windows. Now tell us a little bit about what you have experienced in the process of preserving the physical home that has begun to unearth the spirit of the home of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And please feel free to give us any insight as to, if I didn't cover anything in that question, first to lay a background for us.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who came to us in the person of Master Prophet Muhammad. And I'm so grateful for the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and what they've done for me and what they continue to do for me and through me and with me. And I have completely discovered through this process, I of myself am nothing,
Mm.
nothing.
Jeez.
They, the flow of energy that has been present in this house really started. It's really a true labor of prayer and love,
Mm.
which is why I asked the minister if he thought it was good that I call it Sajdah House, and he said it was a good name for the project because my first thought was that it would represent my love and prayer, that I have for the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And then that has grown into just really the manifestation of that love, literally just in the entire process. And in approaching it with that spirit, Brother Imam, what I've discovered is that Allah makes the project very supernatural, if you
Mm.
will.
Mm.
um, because what then begins to happen is that we began to attract people who understood it and who lined up with the energy. And there's a whole lot that you have to do when you do a project like this before you even touch the project. There's
Yes.
writing up the history of the project and documenting the history. Elijah Muhammad lived there, understanding that and tying that into, your application with Landmark and the
Mm.
Historic Society. Um, can you hear me okay? I feel like I'm going in and out.
I hear you fine. And that's a beautiful
Okay.
point. And I would ask anyone online if you don't have any problem hearing or visual, please let us know as we go in the comments. But what I hear in what you're saying, Sister Sajda, is that as you work through all of the this world's design of permits,
Mhm.
historic designation, and so forth, it's been affecting you in some manner spiritually.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, deeply spiritually. Um, Not only just learning more and more about the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, thankfully for the table talks, but just carrying his spirit and the minister's spirit with me all the time because that, and obviously Allah, but all of that, carrying that energy through the whole process when it comes down to meeting new vendors, making sure that they understand that and being able to create the language to be able to explain to people who don't know who they are, who don't know who we are, who don't understand the sacredness of this place.
Making sure that they understand.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
it's okay. So creating literally a new language to help normalize them and constantly fishing people and transforming them so that they get to where they understand the process and the sacredness of the space. That's a whole spiritual process in and of itself, because it's one thing when we're off to ourselves or we're working with people who believe like us, but when you have to
Mm.
go out and deal with people who have never even heard of who or what you're talking about. And if they have heard of it, what they've heard has been adverse to what you're trying to convey to
Mm.
them. Um, that process changes you. It has
Jeez.
changed me because it's a constant process. And praise be to Allah, we've been very successful to create a team that is operating from that space of love and respect. And you will see when you see how they handle the building, the materials, and the ideas that they come up with, because a project like this is like one big puzzle piece. It's not like new construction where you draw it out, you go and buy your materials, and you put it together based on the way the architects and the engineers have told you to put it together. This is an existing structure that you
Right.
want to preserve, that is sacred. You don't want to break anything, you don't want to waste anything. They want to also figure out how to restore it and upgrade it and maintain the integrity of the original edifice. which again is literally life changing. So you mentioned things like the brick, turning the brick around and moving brick from one side of the house to the other so that the front side is always fresh, taking brick off the back side of the coach house that you can't see and putting it on the house, and then replacing the brick on the back side with, newer brick that isn't necessarily exposed. We literally just finished rebuilding most of the entire coach house.
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
there's new beams.
Now,
The
for
whole
those who don't
backside.
know, what is the coach house?
So the coach house is like if you go back to the 18 and 1900s, you always had a main house, and then you had what they call either a carriage house or a coach house, usually off to the side or in the rear of those big homes where they kept the horses and the carriage and the carriage house. And then as you move through time, people converted them into garages and homes and things like that. But really the structure of that building was including, hay lofts and all of that kind of stuff. So what
these homes were self-sustained.
Yes, they were all self-sustained. And so the first thing we did was brought in structural engineers so that we could be certain of the structure. And we found that the house was very sound. We also put some additional measures in to shore it up. So what we did was things like sistered all the wood and all the joints so that, inshallah, the house will last another 100 years.
Praise be to Allah.
And can, handle the weight. So that whole process of just figuring out each puzzle piece, and then the language and the communication strategy that not only has to convey information, but it has to convey a sentiment of sacredness to, in some cases, people who have never even heard of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Is life-changing.
Excellent. What do you think has been the largest challenge in presenting the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to those who have not heard of him before, particularly in this context where you have such a beautiful project? What is the reactions that you may have felt as you educate others in the process? Because I find that's one of the most beautiful things, is when you find someone, particularly our young ones and new generations, who haven't been colored in their minds about who the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is, who the Nation of Islam is, who the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is, that you actually have an opportunity in that moment. Could you talk to us about that?
Yes, sir. It's actually a very beautiful opportunity, and it's not as hard as people might think.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
Because what I try to do is bring my example first. And so it's sort of like, once they buy into me and in essence become endeared to me and my example. And so I try to be very careful in terms of how I treat them, my language, how I speak, how I put the team together, the level of respect. And then people start to feel good just from those first couple of initial conversations. So when I then begin to start talking, now I have like an element of curiosity that is going, because they're looking at me and they're like, but she don't match up with what I heard in the press about this man. And then that gives me an opportunity to just start talking and showing more and more and trying to make sure that I'm representing him in the best light that I can. And really, that's really born out of making sure that I respect people, speak straight words, try and be as clear as possible. I mean, we're not even, this is before we get to talking about any level of scriptures or anything like that. We're just talking about proper handling of people. And people are starving for that.
Yes.
And then once that happens, people then start to go on their own most of the time and do their own research, and then they'll come back to me. And it's interesting when that series or that show came out, Who Shot Malcolm X? I think it was on Netflix or something. A lot of the contractors came back and they were actually angry because they was like, we could tell this wasn't true and that wasn't true. Right. And I listened to them and I let them talk. And for the most part, they were correct. There were a few things that I, had to deal with. But when you come first with that love and respect and that proper handling, that becomes the gateway for Allah to do the rest. And then anybody who just doesn't get it, then I'm okay with saying that this project isn't for you.
No, because that's beautiful in that when you speak of the spirit of the home itself, it's, yes, some of us are maybe not firm in what we think when we hear the word spirit, right? So when I hear the word spirit, I hear the spirit to do for self, the development of a multi-million-dollar nation from that home. It's a spirit that drives someone to establish such. The establishment of schools across the country, the establishment of houses of worship across the country. If we have Brother Carlos, he could tell us the number we got up to. But we had over 70 some odd mosques around the country and 20 some odd schools around, 24 some odd schools around the country. So there was an education of black children in the thousands. There was an education of Black America in the hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands. And this education was one that was spiritual, that was one that attracted leaders from all over the planet itself, like your Dr. Kings, like your heads of state from many African nations, Middle East. And, when I hear spirit of a home, the four walls can keep you in, but it can't keep your spirit in. So this place was also the place of the grooming of Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, Minister Farrakhan. The grooming of great leaders also came from the spirit of this home.
Yeah.
So when I hear spirit, that's what I hear, and that beautiful opportunity that we have to really explain that aspect of what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad cultivated in his home, not for just himself, right, but for a nation of people, not only here in America, but around the world. I just hear a very beautiful, beautiful pathway to begin discussion for a whole new generation. And for those that now, we're living in a new time. When I wish I had it in arm's reach, but there was a time where if you lifted the book, The Fall of America, people would be, oh no, we're at the height of our economic power and military power. So now we look at the events of today and say, wow, really, what was this man, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, speaking of? Each of those books, Fall of America, How to Eat to Live, Book 1 and 2, Message to the Black Man, Our Savior Has Arrived, were all compiled and written right there at the home at 4847 South Woodlawn. So when you talk about spirit is something that produces reality, not something that takes you out of reality into the clouds or wherever we may want to wander with our imaginations. There's plenty spaces to go with our imagination. But with our sister, she's cultivating a space for that imagination to be in tune with the vision of a new world. So praise be to Allah.
Praise be to Allah. I was going to say, in listening to what you just said, the spirit produces thought.
There you go.
And then the thought produces action and choices. And then ultimately, then you get the physical manifestation of the thoughts that came from the original spirit. And it is this spirit and the number of people that have met in that house that makes this piece of property the single most important piece of property in modern African American day history.
Now that's what I
Modern day
want.
African American history. There are more people convened in that home in our modern day history than any other piece of property in the world.
Mm.
So that is what makes it sacred.
Speak on
You,
that.
you won't find another property that has a list of guests and occupants and meeting attendees, and people who have dined there like that home does.
Mm.
And so it is truly a sacred space. So the spirit has now become a sacred one that, thanks be to Allah, we are working to preserve and showcase to the world the sacredness of it, and teach our people to understand the sacredness of a space like this.
Mm-hmm. So when you say sacred, I also go back to what you mentioned earlier, that there was a type of comportment, proper handling of people that you also exuded when you interfaced with the world in the development of the project itself. So in that light, what would you say are some of the most important tools that you learned about handling people in the proper manner? It seems to be a very simple concept, but it really is a skill that is beyond a practice, because you can go through emotion, but that skill has to be, as we're saying on the spirit, has to be informed by certain values and principles of respect.
Yes.
That we are taught. So could you elaborate on that?
Yes, sir. Definitely respect and love. Probably the key one is language,
Go ahead.
and learning to use the proper language at the right time to motivate people to think a couple moves ahead and find what will motivate them, what will excite them, but then finding the through line or the connection between myself and our community and the people that are working with us. Once we find that through line, and understanding that commonality or that through line has to be respected. And then language is very, very important. It's not just, let me just throw a quick text together and say something disrespectful, but being very, very mindful of language. And it is, if I can say so, it is a skill.
Mm.
And it's a skill that's very important, because it's that skill that makes people go above and beyond. When you're working on project, normally not going to go the way you think they're going to go. You're going to have all kind of challenges. But when you properly handle people and your communication is proper and there's common ground that you're standing on and there's respect and there's love, then you get people who, instead of walking away from you when you have a challenge, or instead of going, hey, you know what, I'm gonna have to charge you extra because you got this little extra challenge, they're willing to make them team members and family members. And so now the entire Sajdah House team, including the construction team, I mean, yourself, you're on it, we're a family.
Yes.
And that's the goal. And my goal is to nurture that family so that I can get the most productivity and the highest form of productivity out of all of us, as we move forward to finish this project. But not just that as you move through this project and you finish this project, you find some new product or service, or just new idea or concept about yourself that maybe you didn't have before. So I want to represent that spirit of production and fertility that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad represented.
Go ahead. Now, I heard that word fertility. Now, you ended with a bomb right there. Because if we're not reproducing ourselves, we find ourselves stagnant, you know? And that's one
Right.
thing that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, no doubt, was one who reproduced himself. We see it in the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Uh,
Yes.
there are
Right.
very few leaders that have raised such renowned leaders that I know of in such a manner that were not just teachers to the masses and movement leaders, but they raise other leaders that continue the legacy of that movement, of that nation. And I haven't seen that in the way we have with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We can go down and lose fingers off the 10 fingers counting how many he's influenced and raised, and how many even to the point where it's really, there's schools of thought. There's a world in the teaching
That's
of
right.
the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So in the preservation of the home, in guaranteeing that this spirit is preserved, what are right now, where are we? And I want all to know that are watching, this Table Talks discussion is not a quote show like that. As you see, we don't have a regular programming. We just pop in and out to have discussions. So feel free to post any comments, any discussion points that you would like to hear from us on. But my sister Sajdah is not someone that we are just quote doing business or working as I want to say brothers and sisters in faith on this. This is something that we are looking, as she mentioned, to preserve that home, which will house artifacts, will house the table talks of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, will house the original spirit of what the Nation of Islam produced around the world. What are some of the things now that we can do to make sure that this legacy is preserved? We know Allah is backing this, so we know
Yes.
that our
Praise
work and our
Allah.
hands are the means by which the preservation is happening, but the spirit of Allah is backing this. So when we talk about preserving the legacy of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that's written. So it's our job to maintain that power and force into the future. What would you say are some of the things right now at the stage of the development of the Sajdah House are some things that we can do as a nation, as a community, as black people to really support and make sure that that legacy in the home of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad at 4847 South Woodlawn is preserved?
Yes, sir. One of the things that we want to make sure is, and what we're doing is using technology to be able to show, he puts us in a position where it prevents our up walls and slap televisions and things like that up on the wall. So what we're doing is using projections, 3D projections and holographic technology to be able to tell the story and change up our exhibits and displays as we need to without altering the sacredness of the space. And so one of the things is footage of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad or the businesses. Of course, you know, we have the Table Talks and we have a plan that, you know, the Table Talks team is working through sure that that is presented. But we do have a shortage of footage. So anyone that has any type of footage that they can send us and that we can, you know, splice and use, you know, because we're not going to be showing whole videos to people as they. We've got these lifelike screens and projectors that we're designing to really, as you walk into the space, recreating that space right there in a 3D manner. So when you walk into the sitting room, if there's video footage of, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Muhammad Ali, or any of these great people that were there, being able to show that in lifelike manner on the screen is part of our goal. So from a history that we definitely have a shortage of. And so anybody that can direct us somewhere where we can obtain more of that, that would be great. That's the main thing. The other part, supporting us, we've got some fundraisers and things like that going on. We are not sparing any expense. We're not just slapping together a frame house or putting together just some old house. Everything that we're doing is carefully down to the mustard seed of detail, and making sure that we're repurposing materials and products and not throwing things away. And so supporting with the donations and the purchase of the coins, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, that would be great. And also supporting the Table Talks, because the Table Talks, this is a great opportunity to showcase the Table Talks and really put them on the level. I think you mentioned in the last meeting that these are the messenger's hadiths.
Yes.
And so we want to be able to really showcase that. I'm planning, I was working on that this weekend with some of the technology designers for the dining room where the Table Talks were created to be the showstopper of the entire tour.
Praise be to Allah. Wow.
So that's the...
Elaborate on that a little bit. Now, you all might be asking me, why don't you know, brother? I know, but our sister's vision flows so consistently and fluidly that I understand the foundations of it, of course. But tell us a little bit about what you mean by that.
Yes, sir. So, when you're in dealing with technology, I look at it like this. When I price things out with vendors, I say I have my Chevy, I got my Cadillac, and I got my Bentley. The dining room is the Bentley. And in the dining, or the Rolls Royce, right? So in the dining room, inshallah, with the table that we'll be using from your fight or your grandfather, we found technology, and this came to my mind about a year ago, that I wanted to be able to play excerpts of the Table Talks, maybe 3 to 5 minutes, project people down onto the table as the Table Talks is playing.
Wow. And
we went for a while and was unable to find somebody to do it, and then we found a company, and the first thing out of their mouth, Imam Sultan, is they said 2 things that I'm wanting for a year and praying for. The first one, they said, we have technology where you can recreate events. And I said, what do you mean? They said, like the March on Washington. So we can put your audience in the middle, surrounded by the actual crowd of March on Washington, with, in their case, they use Martin Luther King speaking. And our first thing I thought of, Million Man March, right, Savior's Day, 1973, or, whatever we want. That was the first thing. The second thing he said, like, if you have a dining room, we can use a real table, but with acrylic chairs, project 2 to 3 people at the table. And I almost threw my notebook at the man.
Yeah. I remember when you told me that. I'm like, what? Did he read your bio or see you online before you came? Because he spoke right into it.
He spoke right into it. The meeting could have lasted 15 minutes. We stretched it for an hour because we were all there. But the first Tim, who's helping with IT, I think I hit Brother Tim in the back. Like, what? And so, so imagine the Table Talks playing a conversation between the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and projecting the 2 of them at the table.
Teach. Excellent.
so what this does is not only does it gives us versatility with the exhibit, so we can play different aspects of the table talks depending on whatever we decide we're going to play. It also ties in technology, which is going to be a real attraction factor to our youth.
Right.
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 And obviously our age, we like technology too, but they're going to get it, and that's going to make them absorb these table talks even more. It's going to increase the absorption for them using the technology.
Excellent. And I think, my dear sister, that is a beautiful segue into the coins of
Yes.
the home of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And could you talk to us a little bit about those coins? I know some of us may have seen it online. We're going to put that up too from your website.
Okay.
Go ahead, hold it up, and then we'll put that online too.
Go. So these coins, we have. So this particular home, like many older homes, this particular home, especially so, is surrounded by copper. So all the gutters, all the downspouts, certain parts of the windows or dormers or the parts on the side of the windows, and the tops of the porches are copper, including 2 bay windows. So there's an exorbitant amount of copper, which we later found out that the original owners really were into spirituality and business. They were high order Masons, and they had Masonic meetings in the home weekly. And basically what they talked about and brought together were big business people like Sears and Roebuck and Swift with the meat packing. And they talked about business and spirituality. And that's what they did in the home. So they built the house. The wife of the gentleman that originally owned the home wanted to create a space where they could meet and have the highest form of vibration. So she did things like put copper all around it. And on the original porch, there were copper bay windows, which we discovered when we took the white paint off, and also an azure color, the combination of which brings wisdom and is a conduit for knowledge. When you go inside, it's rare to find these types of homes that have more than 2 different types of wood. This house has 6 different types of wood, and each type of wood has a different spiritual nature to it and its own language, vibrational language. And so, interestingly enough, the wood that was used in the dining room has the 2 most highest forms of vibrational wood, which is walnut and mahogany. Good for teleportation and communication. So we have so much copper and tuning in, exactly. And we had so much copper that I said, well, we're not going to throw it away. And so we had to go through a major process.
Let's bring that up. Show us that coin, because this thing is beautiful. It almost looks gold.
It does almost look gold.
And when you see it, please describe the size and weight of this, because it's a beautiful, beautiful piece that I think that when you mention conductivity, we're talking about. I know,
yes.
Yeah. So from wood to copper being one of the best conductors. Yes. Go right ahead. Tell us more.
Yes. So the process for the copper, because this is a spiritual process in of itself, so I have to explain this. When we went through and evaluated what copper we could use and what we could keep or we had to throw away, there were copper on the bay windows, some of it that was not as exposed to the elements that we were able to keep. The other copper, we had to take it down, we had to wash it, we had to remove the nails and the clamps that were holding it to the building. We had to remove the paint, we had to flatten it and cut it, and and then heated at 1,983 degrees Fahrenheit, and then poured into a mold
Wow.
that was created from the design. And so when we got the copper graded, which is why you see it in this case with the barcode, they were able to certify that our copper was 100%. That's the first
Excellent.
thing they're going to test. And so very few coins like this do you see are actually 100% of whatever element they say they are. If they say they're silver, on the inside, there's probably some aluminum or nickel or something. This is 100%
Wow.
copper.
Wow.
And
It's
it's
beautiful.
39 millimeters. So a lot of people, when they think copper, they think of a penny,
Mm.
but it's not. It's about the size of a $50.
Okay.
And it's
Yes,
one
yes.
ounce.
Mm.
It's 1 ounce of copper. You probably can see by my hand. A penny would be probably a little bigger than my ring, maybe. So
Mm.
it's bigger than that. It's a nice size.
Excellent.
And it's 1 ounce of copper. And each one has been graded and has its own barcode. And what that does is that preserves it from a commemorative or a color. 50 years from now, if you have this coin, you can say, look, it's in this case, here's my barcode. Now, some people have been saying that some people are buying two because they're going to break it out of the case and create medallions. Some people are going to put diamonds on there because in the design on the front is, of course, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's face. And on the side, it says, in the name of Allah. And then there's 24 stars
Mm-hmm.
surrounding him.
Put that close
And
to
then on
the.
the back,
Yes,
yes,
we'll
sir.
give you a full screen too on that.
Okay.
A little to your there it is. There it is. Praise be to Allah. Now, as we showed the website, it shows that you can actually now get your own to support the project.
Yes, you can purchase the coin to support the project. The proceeds are going straight to construction and technology and staffing and all the support items that we need to continue. Like I said, we're sparing no expense. Right now, we're about $3 million into the project,
Wow.
and we'll probably need about another 1.5 million to do it right and to have the staffing and stuff that we need. And the coins are going to help us. We're not relying solely on the coins, but um, that's how it is. And I didn't want to, do a GoFundMe and ask people for money or, without being well into the project myself and being fully vested and then giving them something in exchange. And this is really an
Beautiful.
heirloom.
And we have a sister Ebony
Beautiful. When
Simone.
they melted this copper,
Sister Ebony Simone is
I'm
breaking.
sorry.
We have something called mathematical theology, right? So Sister
Okay.
Ebony Simone is breaking down the numerical theology of the temperature right now of
Uh-huh.
the molding of the coins themselves. So those who want to
Yeah.
experience, we'll put that up on the screen shortly as well. Sister Simone, thank you for that. But to think that the scriptural idea of the furnace of affliction, right, and what
Yes.
comes through the process. Go right ahead.
Yes.
My
Well, no,
sister's
the
full.
process in and of it in itself was a very spiritual process. When I started looking at all the steps of removing the copper, flattening it, nails, um, and then melting it at 1,983 degrees, and then putting it into a mold, and then putting it in another case and grading it to make sure that it was pure. It's all very, very spiritual.
Mm, beautiful, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing it. And let us go to sajdahouse.com right now to support the project. As our sister is saying, this is something that you can actually have a piece of the home of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad yourself. Not only one that is a piece of the house in a way that you would go to a museum or something and buy a postcard, but no, you're taking home an actual conductive part of the house so
Yes.
that you can
Yes.
share in that energy and actually yourself be a part of that energy that's being fulfilled for this development of the home and this new coin. You see it here. We have it on the screen. Do what you can to support the project. Our sister Sajdah has been working diligently. You've heard the investment that has gone into this from her. She's not asking anything from us but to show our love for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. She has deeply, deeply invested herself, not only spiritually, not only mentally, right, but with her own dollars. She has taken this to the point where we now can enjoy the experience ourselves and have an opportunity to see the home of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and ourselves be a part of this historic experience. So just know, Sister Wendy, I think you already know that this is writing a history for our day and
Yes.
for now. So we thank you for all that you're doing. Everyone who is listening, please visit sajdahhouse.com so that you can learn more about the coin, the Sajdah House coin, and the effort to continue the development of the restoration of the home of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Praise be to Allah. That's a beautiful piece, Sister Sajdah. I'm going to order mine right away. I should have done it already. I'm going to tell on myself.
Okay.
But I've just
There's
been.
some other things. Let me tell you. There's so because we're not throwing things away, like the beams, for example, that we took out of the coach house. I was looking at them on Saturday, and I said, you know what? We can make benches out of them.
Mm.
And, to go outside where people can to talk about that. But then we had old mantles, fireplace mantles that were original to the home. And some of them we couldn't reuse. So one we've already made a table out of.
Wow.
So just the whole project will be attractive to people who are into repurposing and recycling things from older homes. So that part of it, we have about 15 windows that we could not reuse. They're primarily the windows that are on the south, which are most exposed to the elements up on the third floor. We couldn't reuse those. And so we still have them, as well as some of the windows from the coach house. We couldn't put them back in because either the frame was a little bit off-centered or they just wouldn't seal anymore. And but there were a lot of windows, especially a lot of the lead glass and the stained windows that we were able to restore, and they've been restored by hand. And when you see them, they are just absolutely beautiful.
Excellent.
It's like the spirit came back into them. So with those windows, I thought it would be really nice to make artwork out of them and offer them to people, for people to purchase. Because especially since our leader had that beautiful experience at the window of the home, his outer body experience, where he saw his father there lamenting. One of the windows is definitely the window that he was actually at, or at least one of these are, let me put it that way. But we have those windows, and so we've started to sand them down and stain them. And I was thinking of a few different things. Maybe we'll put like a little plaque on the corner that says where it's from with some photos. But, just being creative and reusing those pieces. We've got 5 doors that we can't reuse. And we've already finished a project and put some spiritual significance about doors on them,
There it is.
writing, so that they're actually already been stained and they're ready for us to work on. So just really just the utmost respect for the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and not, dumping anything away. We've run out of bricks, but we may even have some pieces of brick, some of them that were cracked or disfigured a little bit, that we can offer to people. I mean, I go through and pick up pebbles off the ground.
That's right. Sacred
That's
ground.
how sacred. It's sacred grounds. It is truly sacred grounds, and it's important that people understand the sacredness of it, that we present it as the sacred ground that it is. So it's deeper than a cultural center or a museum house. It is really a sacred space. And, we want to, inshallah, train our staff and from our own travels and how you enter and handle and access sacred spaces, and teaching our people that spaces like this, that are the single most important pieces of property in modern day African American history, are sacred. And we have to see it that way. And we have to enter it as such. How often are you entering a home where Martin Luther King, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Hosea Williams, Minister Farrakhan? I mean, the list is so long.
It's amazing.
How often are you entering a room, Imam Sultan, where that many giants have actually stood in? It's nothing short of sacred.
That's right. That's right. Now, we have talked about the physical preservation, the spiritual preservation, and now the reality that we're looking at the closing of a chapter, and that is the restoration process before the doors are open virtually to the world. The doors are open physically to the world. And now we're in a stage, brothers and sisters, where we need to help support our sister. We heard the investment that she's placed in this. Yes, make sure you get your coin, and that is at sajdahhouse.com. That will help continue the project, and help, lay, have your, I want to say, what do we call it? Memento. There's the word. Your memento that shows that you supported the home. There it is. Your memento that shows that you supported the home, the project, and now that we are in a place of fundraising for the completion of the project. Please know our sister is doing this for our nation, for our community, for our future. And in the process, as our sister said, we're family as believers, and we should always support what we know is good for our family, what is good for our community. So in this stage, we want to make sure that our sister has everything she needs to complete the project. But knowing our sister, once the momentum is gone and moving, you want to make sure you're part of it, because it's going to be happening, Allah willing. And we see that Allah's hand is with this. Just make sure your hand is in it as well, and supporting the spirit behind it. So on that note, and speaking of family, we also too would like to hear from you as it relates to your development of the youth, because I understand I have a young man in my household who is very excited about the project, who's my son, Sultan Sadiq, Muhammad, and he is very excited. He's attracted to the history of our nation, and the young FOY who knows that it has to continue in terms of the spirit that we mentioned of embodying the principles and values of our teaching. Could you talk to us about why I don't see him as often anymore? He's starting to work on some projects and getting pulled away.
Yes,
What are you doing with our
yes,
youth?
sir. Yes, sir. My vision is that, when people visit either in person or virtually, what they see is our beautiful youth educating them on the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Hmm.
And so my nephew, Sultan Sadiq,
Mm-hmm.
is the project lead on the Table Talks Sajdah House collaboration project.
Hmm.
And
Excellent.
working in terms of being able to categorize and select table talks so that we can pull them up. I mean, we can make the home work with current events and be able to show the world. Because here's the thing. We live in a world right now where the media and news have been merged. Most people can't tell the difference between news or marketing. I should
Teach.
say that, not media news, but
Mm-hmm.
news and marketing is merged. And so if you don't have some platform, right now you have algorithms that tell us what to look at, what we should think, what we should dress like, what kind of man we should want, what type of woman we should want. We have these algorithms out here that are speaking, and the algorithms have gotten to the point where they've altered our reality in such a way, Imam Sultan, that
Mm-hmm.
we don't know reality anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So
Teach.
when I think about our youth, if they can root themselves in the teachings and in the supreme wisdom and have something that they can call up on demand, that gives them a leg up and a root and a reality that is not dictated by an algorithm
That's right.
that impacts all of us. And so that was my original thought on that. And I said, well, Allah, I think and every time I come up with something, Imam Sultan, I take it to Allah. There were, real quickly to go back to the coins, I had come up with this beautiful green satin box that I was going to put the coin in, and it had, Sajdah House written in gold. And I took the box and went to prayer, and I asked Allah, I said, Allah, if you like this, if this is what you think is in alignment with what we should be doing, then make it easy.
Good.
And when I did that, the next day, the vendor doubled the price on the box.
Oh, wow.
He said it was going to take him 145 days or some astronomical to get the box done. So then I said, okay, Allah, well, that was clear. So I'm assuming that what you really want, you're going to show me. And I just went about my business. And then the vendor who was helping me at the foundry put the coins together, she called me. So I answered the phone like I normally do, like, hey, how you doing? And, she was telling me just how excited. She said, wait till you see them. And she says, oh, I wanted to ask you, do you want them graded? And I said, okay, Allah, here we go. She said, and I said, what's graded? And so she explained to me that there was this international company that would grade them, that would grade our copper, that would grade put the barcode on it. And she said, and I said, well, what does that do? How different is that from me having a fancy package? She said, this makes it hold its value and appreciate as an asset and an heirloom. Collectors. So it puts you in the collectible coin world. Of course, you can break it out of here and make a medallion or whatever you want, but this. So I said, okay, Allah, this must be what you wanted. You didn't like that satin green thing that I thought was
The
so pretty,
casing,
but
right?
okay. Yeah. So that is how the project, that's how I approached this project with just about anything. So when I started thinking about who would conduct the tours, who would explain to people, you know, what the cracked atom is and what the wood means and who would do that. And I had a lot of different ideas. Well, maybe we use college students who will reenact things, and then it just came to me, no, it's the youth in our nation
Go ahead.
who will be able to put together almost this database that they can access and dial up to access truth as they're moving and navigating through this artificial world that is being ushered in. And they'll be able to use the supreme wisdom to bring in this new world. And I thought, what a way to excite them, to have them to begin to comb through table talks and tag them and categorize them and create the exhibits. And so nephew Sultan Sadiq is the project manager and team lead on that, and he's pulling together. I saw a number of different youth at Sean Michelle's this past weekend, and asked them to reach out to him, that they were excited, they want to work on the team. So I think he's going to have all the staff that he needs. My goal is to work as hard as I can to get them money for real salaries.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't want them to be there struggling, so they'll have real salaries, health insurance, and it'll be a real career choice for them, and being able to participate in all aspects of this project. And so that is the goal. And so I'm so proud of him, because when we had our last meeting, it's like he just has grasped it, and not only just grasped the concept, but the process that he's using to develop it, and his understanding of being able to develop an idea and be a project manager is so swift.
Excellent.
And so I'm grateful for him, and I believe, God willing, that we'll be successful. So that's one of the things I'm just super excited about. That gets me emotional. I have to, when I'm talking to him on the phone, I have to not act like mama or auntie, just
No, and I think this is good for all of the believers and any that desire to really see longevity. As our sister mentioned, fertility in the beginning. So this young man, he is my son. He's a great grandson of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. As our sister said, she's taking him under her wing and is allowing him an opportunity to lead. And that is an important thing. And, he's grown up around his dad and worked on the projects. This young brother has been doing excellent in his development, and now he's really beginning to have an opportunity to make his contribution. So I know we're talking about him a lot, so we're going to go ahead and bring him on. So brother Sadiq, Sultan Sadiq, inshallah, we're about to bring you on. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes. So I'm going to try to bring your video in. Okay. And you will, inshallah, speak with on your experience. Here's the tech coming in. Okay, so we're going to add you right in. Here we go. Bismillah. He's usually doing this part, so so I'm going to go ahead and bring him on. Oh, there he is. Okay, and I'm going to let...
he is.
Brother
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam,
Walaikum
sir.
salam.
How are you?
I'm good. like you said, I'm used to being on the other side, pulling up everybody. So yeah.
So it's good to see you on this side. And I know you've been listening in on us talk about you and talk about what, in particular, our sister Sajdah is pointing to, and that's the importance of our youth involvement. That we, the so-called grown folk, right, are not keeping our youth from inclusion in a way that your imagination, your spirit, your actual hands are in the project itself. That this is something that you, inshallah, when you reach your maturity, can say this is something I helped in working with. Tell us a little bit about your journey with Table Talks, the project as Sister Sajdah outlined it for the preservation that the youth are going to be working on. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, and I'm going to go ahead and try to pull myself out of the middle of you two and let you two talk, okay? Go right ahead, Brother Sadiq.
All praise due to Allah. Bismillah. It was just, in being born in the nation and being a witness of all of the value and the legacy of the Elijah Muhammad in the Table Talks since day one. Alhamdulillah, we've been blessed to travel to different cities of Detroit, Pittsburgh, in showcasing and just showing to the world the value of the intimate recordings of the Table Talks of the Elijah Muhammad. It's just a blessing. I know, and you all were saying a lot about me, and honestly, I haven't done much. It's just there's so much we can do, and actually we have to do in exhibiting and displaying the value and the importance of the unparalleled legacy of the Elijah Muhammad, showcased in his own home, his original home at 4847, in various ways, from education to the preservation of the actual recordings, the artifacts. We're blessed to have the, as Sister Sajdah mentioned before, the table of the Elijah Muhammad, so much more, and the actual preservation that goes into that, as well as the overall education that, as you all mentioned before, to people who may not know the Elijah Muhammad. So the framing of a curriculum that teaches the value of what came from that very table in the living room of the Elijah Muhammad, and there's so much we can do with this in organizing and facilitating programs to help further the exhibition of what the value.
Brother Sadiq?
Uh-oh, he froze.
Okay, Brother Sadiq, you froze. Either your phone died or it cut you off.
Man, what I've been thinking about is just, sort of like this, how we have Alexis and Siri.
Yes, that's what he was touching on the tech side. Go right ahead.
Yeah. Yes, that the youth could help to put this together, or we can support them in putting together, because I really want them to be able to dial up the teachings. The minister has spoken on just about every single subject. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad with the Table Talks. There's so many different subjects. I want them to be able to have these teachings at their fingertips and dial it up as they need it.
That's right. In a way that it works as smoothly as a Google, something that we are having access to, as you heard Brother Sadiq, Sultan Sadiq mention, the digitizing process, and that aspect of preservation on the technology side that the youth would be able to be involved with. And many I don't know how much it actually takes to do such a thing. So on the tech side, with that, I know a wonderful brother. His name is Brother Timothy, and he is a tech genius, and he is a strong worker for our nation. Could you tell us about how that might work, having such a resource housed at Sajdah House as Table Talks for us to be able to just search, and you mentioned something like an Alexa.
The Siri. So
Or
once they finish doing the categorizing and the meta tagging and just kind of categorizing really the table talks and any other aspects of the teachings, then we can put them on an app that will have voice recognition. And since it's organized by topic, then you'll be able to ask, what did the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad say about police brutality? Exactly. Or what did he say about, insurrection or whatever? But they'll be able to use it as they need it when these algorithms that they're being subject to are veering them off from their base or their reality. They should be able to say, what did the minister say about, domestic violence, or anything that they want, any specific topic, being able to call up and grab those teachings and use them, as they need them. And even putting things like access to the Supreme Wisdom and the problem book into these algorithms, so that, again, we leave them with tools that they can use to survive and thrive and win, and settle in that fertile mind that they have. So then they will then reveal, the next steps and the next level, and more knowledge and more creation. Because in order to access something, you have to have a form, and you have to name it. So if we pull this body of knowledge together in a form, then that means that then we can make it accessible. And as they're working now, as his team is working to begin the categorizations and kind of figure out what we're going to showcase at Sajdah House and all those things, we just keep building this database. Yes. I heard somebody say the other day, we're not trying to boil the ocean, right? we just,
right.
We're just we're just going step by step. We'll just keep adding more information to the database. So right now he's working through the project management piece of getting that information ready,
right,
to be able to use it in different forms. That's the idea. You want to formulate something so that you can then extract from the data.
Excellent. So this is a framework that really not only energizes those youth that would be involved with it, but it gives them an opportunity to really get educated and more familiar with the history, hands-on. And like you said, I really like and appreciate what you're saying about those questions that come up, that sometimes veer us away from what we are being guided to. But those are the questions that need clear answers. And one of the personal experiences I've had from the Table Talk is just that, is that when you hear this fluid discussion around supreme wisdom and around the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, it allows you to digest it, in a way, like you're saying, where it's almost spoon-fed to you at the table.
Yes.
And
yes.
Someone posted earlier, we'll bring those posts back up. They said if there's no dishes clinking in the background, it doesn't hit right. So
there you is.
So, meaning there's a behind that, there's a personality, there's a spirit that is on the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that you are able to access in that moment, in how he responds to questions. When he sees someone that may be veering off in terms of the question itself, how he softly guides them back, and keeps them on that stable foundation of knowledge.
And if I can jump in there, it also helps you to tune yourself to him.
Go ahead. That's right.
And to the way of thinking. One of the things that I do is when I listen to the minister, I try to tune myself to him, whether it's his music or his words, and understanding the manner in which he would think about something. And having this database will allow our children and our youth to tune and think like them.
Go ahead. So our brother, we're trying to get him back on to speak a little bit more on it. But I think what I see you're doing, dear sister, is commendable, extremely valuable, and holistic in its rollout. I appreciate what you have done to establish pace so that you are clear that the foundation is proper in terms of the rollout of the restoration project itself, number one. And then number two, I poke in and out of social media and different places, and I see my sister, she is I don't know how you are doing what you do, she's got this beautiful show. I've got her book right here, Mind of an Entrepreneur. Mo Today, she has weekly programs, all of these things that she's doing. And, for those that are in business, those that are working on projects like this and need that guidance on how to make it holistic, how do I join in the youth? How do I make it a program or project that is intergenerational? How do we begin to not only include our youth, but include our elders and make it something that the entire community can seek ownership in? If we watch our sister, watch what she's doing from not only a business mind, but a business mind that's being influenced by the spirit of Islam, right? So there's a holistic approach to this entire thing that if you really watch her, she's a true student of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, a true student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, get up and do something for self, right? So when you see someone doing and they're manifesting, they become a type of blueprint or a type of map. What is it that is in your heart as a desire to contribute to your nation? As an individual, what is it in your mind that you have of gifts that Allah has blessed you with that you can contribute to the preservation of your nation? And it doesn't have to be something like in our minds we think, oh, this is such and it is a tremendously grand project, but all of us have something that is grand to contribute to our nation. So I just advise that we look at our sister's path and see the holistic way she's been rolling this out as an entrepreneur, as a follower and student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. How do you keep it all wrapped up in one beautiful package like this? And we have our brother back on. I'm going to bring him on in a second, but please go ahead and speak on that.
What I was going to say also, I'm working to pull in our Muslim business community. Some of you may have saw that on Saturday we were with Sean Michelle Ice Cream and we developed a Sajdah House ice cream brand. These are all things that I've seen over the years in working in corporate America, and I see these groups and you keep seeing that name pop up and this brand, and it's all tied together.
That's right.
A family. And so, we have believers who have sponsored exhibits so that we'll be able to showcase their business and you will be able to see, and it'll go into history, that Sister Kiana Mans and Mans Law is sponsoring the exhibit on Mother Khadija Farrakhan, and Sister Sadia Evangelista is sponsoring Elijah's Gardens. So how do I keep it together? I use, a lot of it is, this is my life. I love it. It's love in most cases. And I am extremely fortunate to be able to do and pull everything that I love into one project. That is the greatest blessing for me. I used to say that I was very schizophrenic. I'd be over here doing this and over here doing that. And Allah has blessed me to be able to pull it together, in one project, and to do something that I'm just completely in love with, which is our nation and our minister. And but also how on a technical side is some of what I've been working with and showing our brothers, Sultan Sadiq, when he comes back on, he can talk about it, is using project management and being organized so that each of your small projects, you have them laid out in a way that you can develop them and, turn them over to somebody. So those are techniques, and we spent a little time talking about that on the last call that we had. You're back, sir?
He's back.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Fine.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. You're talking about project management, and earlier, you both were talking about how the Honorable Elijah Muhammad built a nation from that table and that living room, and one of those key skills and lessons learned is how to treat and manage people. So yes, ma'am. I'm just a youth. I'm just learning from this process, from what you both have been blessed to share, and all of this is just has to be organized and exhibited, and that's what the youth are for.
Yes, sir. Organize it and form it, and I, as I mentioned, my vision is for you all to have a form and a database that you can dial up as you need it, as you're going through your life, whether it's something with your children one day or your job or a project. You have access to data that you can go to that includes the supreme wisdom that you believe in and you've been reared on, and that is the foundation of your life to guide you through whatever challenges or triumphs that you're going through. And so, inshallah, through Sajdah House, we'll be able to help create that for the youth, and just seeing you all be involved, and your energy and your spirit is just so pure and so beautiful. So I'm excited, and I'm here to teach and give and pour out and whatever you all need. And we'll do some sessions where you all can just ask me questions. And I've been fortunate to be in business for a number of years, and I built a lot of business for some other people that don't look like us. So there's a lot in here, and you all can extract it and have it and use it, because the idea is that our nation must never fall again.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And that's the blessing in what you're doing in pushing the youth to go ahead and work those roles of what Sajdah House would entail from top to bottom, pushing the youth in those field and areas of leadership to go ahead and work. And that's what we see too in history of what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did, and what many captains that, for example, my brother, student minister Carlos, was a very young man when he was appointed as student minister. And a lot of the youth are ready and looking for those opportunities to go ahead and show their love and live the legacy that is valued and exhibited at that house and from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So what most excites, I'm gonna just take over the interview here. What most excites you about about working on Table Talks? And you haven't been in the house lately since some of the additional updates. And I will tell you something. My nephew was in town with me last week, and he he was so excited, and he said that the energy in the house was so great. He didn't want to leave, even though he said it's cold in here, but I don't even care. And so I would ask you, what most excites you about Sajdah House and working on a project like this? Did I lose you? Did we lose him again?
He looks frozen again. We got to get you out of the cold, brother Sultan Sadiq.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, there you are. There you are. There you are. Go right ahead. Did you hear?
You all hear me?
Yes. Did you hear our sister's question?
I did.
Okay.
I was answering. I think it's just we're all on the same Wi-Fi. Yeah. But what excites me most about this project is just being able to be familiar with everything that's going on. So, and it's kind of unknowing too, because I have a sense where, I'm blessed to know that my brother Sultan, my dad, was born in that very house. Most of my family was born and raised there. And it's just a blessing to contribute in any way I can to the living of the actual legacy of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I think that's what excites me most. And I see that trend in a lot of other youth as well.
Yes, I definitely see that. I see the enthusiasm that you all have, and I will do everything that I can to not make you feel like, and I told you this, like you're a little child or a little youth, or, no disrespectful language like that, because you can soar as high as your mind will allow you to. And so every time I've been speaking to you, you're going to have a big team, and we're going to probably have to get you some assistance so you can organize them. And of course, inshallah, we'll be there to guide you all. But the idea is that, when people walk up to the house, obviously there's so many different aspects, but I want you all to learn every aspect, even in terms of what the construction is and what we did to get things to look a certain way and how we restored it, so that you're having that conversation. Even the windows alone in the dining room and throughout the house, we built what I call some drama into the windows. So it's like the windows are like windows to the world. Wood, you all that so that you can speak to that, because not only will you have people who are interested in learning about the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad coming through the house, you're going to have people who are excited about the architecture, because I think we have 5 different styles of architecture in the home. There'll be people who are excited just to see door hardware and window hardware and wood, and people who travel the world just to visit homes that were built in that era. So there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot to be excited about. I think he froze again. I think he can hear me.
I can hear you well. Am I there?
Yes, you're there now.
Oh, okay. Yes, ma'am. And in youth being in those areas of leadership, you mentioned the businesses and you talked at Sean Michelle's, and also in the need for the production aspect. And when youth are in that aspect of documenting and producing what is being done at Sajdah House, that's one of the areas we look forward to having in youth, producing and documenting what's going on. Just like how the original Table Talks were recorded. And in addition, the education and research that goes into youth actually researching and learning from the gems that are being shared from the Elijah Muhammad, the archive of the Table Talks. So we'll inshallah have a youth-led project of actually listening to and meta-tagging and categorizing the Table Talks of the Elijah Muhammad by theme, by context, and what you see with the transcripts books is a basically outline of what we intend to do in compiling the hadith of the Elijah Muhammad. And
As his connection comes, Brother Sadiq Sultan, your connection is bad. We'll let it get back in. But these are the two books our brother is speaking of. The transcript books.
All this youth-led.
We gotta. Oh, he's talking. It's just in slow motion. So let me.
A tremendous blessing and opportunity.
Well, that was a slow motion response from the online piece. Sadiq, you still have a rough connection. So what I was doing, your last words were we heard them, but they were just a little choppy. So I was showing the books, right? So talk about that again, because you were kind of right in the middle of explaining what is now going to happen with these transcript books that have been developed over time and the youth leadership around it. What's happening with these two books, sir? Oh, he's frozen. I'm gonna. So our brother is saying, yeah, our brother is saying that, as Sister Sajdah just mentioned, that the Table Talks transcripts themselves.
I'm myself lag on here.
Yes, sir, you're lagging. So you need to either get to a better place or, I don't know. I'm not sure. But can you hear me now? We hear you okay now?
I hear you fine.
Okay, your lag has stopped. Do you want to talk on that, on the books again? The transcription? How you...
Yes, sir. If I end up lagging, feel free to just cut me off. I was just explaining how it was a blessing to have youth actually research and go about and leading the process of creating what we see in the example of the transcripts books, in exhibiting and writing and publishing the hadith of the Elijah Muhammad, contextualized and researched words and jewels from the Elijah Muhammad displayed in a frame of context and research where people can easily learn from and experience at the table what's being shared.
So what do you mean when you say you're going to work through these books to do what? What will be produced at the end?
Inshallah, publications of the hadith of the Elijah Muhammad. So in those transcripts, you see a word-for-word transcript of what is being taking place at the table of the Elijah Muhammad. But to have a researched and categorized word of the Elijah Muhammad's talks at the table by theme and by topic is needed, and you see that found also with the words of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and to have opportunities for researchers and students to learn by theme, by context, the words being shared by the Elijah Muhammad. For example, if you can search the word business, and you see all the talks of what the Elijah Muhammad said at the table about building hospitals, about building the bakery, about the Salam restaurant, about the empire of the Nation of Islam. That's one example of what we intend to do in categorizing the words of the Elijah Muhammad table talks and exhibiting that.
Yes.
Excellent.
Am I still lagging or?
No, you're good.
No,
man.
that was so good that I don't even have nothing to say.
I'm sorry.
You know what?
I know I was saying it like two times.
No,
you're fine.
You did it excellent.
Okay.
You said that excellently.
Great job.
You answered that question for me on point. And I would like to say this to all of our youth. Please don't underestimate your contribution. And when I say that, I say it as a reminder, even to myself, and to Brother Sultan Sadiq. Let's remove this word little from what you are saying. You know, I just did a little bit. I just did this little that I have to tell you, just as a father and your brother in Islam, that those things that you may see as little are very big. They're very big. They're huge. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I was blessed to have a conversation with him. It was just myself, he, and our brother Supreme Captain Mustafa. And he was talking about making sure we're lined up, right? So when you have a line in geometry and you attempt to make a parallel line with it, right? If one of those lines is just slightly off, they may look like they're in line in the beginning. But if you take that trajectory further down, you'll see a small hair will make you travel in another trajectory, even though it might seem like you're lined up from the beginning. So what I'm saying to you is that when you line yourself up with the trajectory or the spirit or force and power of Allah God, there's nothing that you do that's little. Muhammad threw a stone, right? But he said it was not you, Muhammad, that threw. It was I, Allah, who threw. It was not you, believers, who fought and won in that battle. It was I, Allah, who won. So these things, I would just encourage you to remove that, because it's very humble and it's very seen in the humility. But you have to have, as youth, all of our youth, and as a teacher at Muhammad University of Islam with our Arabic students, every little thing is something that grows and is nurtured to a ultimate reality that is much more than we may have even imagined. So just that planting of a seed is extremely, extremely important for our youth to plant their seed in that beautiful garden, that full, wide open field that we have to produce in. So thank you, Brother Sultan Sadiq, for what you're expressing and giving in terms of the explanation of it. And you do have quite a bit of support behind you with our sister Sajdah, who is a well-known, well-established sister in our community, particularly around her business acumen, which is Islam. Don't get it twisted. Islam spread through what is known as tijara, through commerce and trade. It is a complete misconception that Islam was spread by the sword or conquering. No, it was spread through good dealing between one another, through relationships, business relationships with one another. And they said, well, I prefer doing business with that person over there. And he's a Muslim. He's never cheated me, right? So then the desire is to be like, right? And then that's where the camaraderie and brotherhood and sisterhood comes in. So we, as a unit, praise be to Allah, at our sisters' lead is working to establish something that's going to be here long and further beyond our own presence. And that's something wonderful to see, that our youth are actually being involved. Tell us about how that is going. Are you recruiting yet? Are you talking to folks yet? I think I've heard some conversations going on. Tell us about how our youth can get involved and work with you on this, and work with Sister Sajdah and the Sajdah House team to actually contribute to this part of the phase of the project's development.
Yes, sir. We're hunting them down. So, I was blessed to talk to Sister Wakiti, who I see on the comments the other day from
Assalamu alaikum,
Houston.
Sister Wakiti.
Assalamu alaikum, sis.
Yeah, she's commenting. Yeah, so we're nationwide. So youth all across the nation, we're going to be seeking to help in these various roles of both Sajdah House and Table Talks, from education to production to research and much more. So we're going to be reaching out, and we're going to also establish, inshallah, social media pages and means by which we'll be having outreach towards the youth, inshallah.
And how can folks reach you to get involved?
I can share my email, but we have, as Sister Sajdah had the other day, events that we'll be planning, such as the one at Sean Michelle's Ice Cream, outreach for the youth, both events and virtual. Inshallah, we'll be also having a Savior's Day project. We'll be around, so please find our contacts, and we'll be here.
Praise be to Allah. And Sister Wendy, would you like to talk to our brother a little bit more about this, and we can begin to take questions from the those who are online?
I think we can take questions. I think that, Sadiq, I think you're off to a good start. And we'll have another meeting coming up where we'll start to talk about how we'll plan some of these live events and some of the symposiums, just so that you can start to share with the youth. And at a certain point, I'll go into the background so y'all can have your conversations. But I mean, I'm always here. But the point of the matter is that, I want to be able to, well, I'll say it this way. I don't want to stifle your creativity. I want to always make sure that I'm just showing you all methods and giving you guidance so that you can, blossom and take charge of this. Because I know once you all get together and all those creative minds start talking and everything starts exploding, we're going to come up with products and services that are going to be amazing. And then from that, we'll get people who will be able to work as tour guides and exhibitors for Sajdah House. And, that house is going to be a big production. It's a big house. It's a big piece of property. And so I'm a firm believer, and how I learned business is my father and mother let us roll with them. They let us just come and learn. And so what better way for you to come and learn than at Sajdah House or at the former home of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad? And I say that because part of the reason why a lot of times our youth are a little unsure about business is because they have to go out into the world and be exposed to aspects of business that are really not appropriate, that are very predatory. And so part of galvanizing also our business community is putting everybody in a position where we are creating pipelines for our businesses. And, we can come together as a community to give you all a safe space to be able to learn business and commerce and trading and, whatever it is that you want to learn, because our nation is so vast and there's a lot of talent. And I think pairing you guys with business people is going to be critical. And, this project can help to do that.
Yes, ma'am. And what better learn from other than the table and the words of the Elijah Muhammad, and from the home and the nation which he established, and
Yes.
now under the leadership of the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan, there's so many youth who are looking for those opportunities to showcase their leadership, and these various roles which we intend to exhibit are opportunities. And yes, ma'am. So I'm blessed. I'm grateful for these opportunities and this work we intend to do, and we're ready to get started.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah.
Praise be to Allah. And again, Brother Sadiq, I think a good way for us to maybe wrap this part or portion up is to share, number one, how folks can engage with you. Uh, you can actually, all our youth, our brothers making the call for you to get involved. There's already a strong team developing, so make sure that you are reaching out and finding a way to express your gem in this project as a youth. Uh, we can share our Instagram at THEM Table Talks, them Table Talks. You can DM, and Brother Sultan Sadiq gets those DMs directly himself at the Honorable Elijah Muhammad Table Talks social media pages. And also, please visit us at our website at tabletalks.org. You can find ways to contact us there. There is a sign up where you can receive updates on our activities as well. And not only the activities, but any questions that you may have about Table Talks, the project itself, and how you can get involved. And there's that website, tabletalks.org, for us there. At any time, just drop us a note. And I would like us also to make sure that we do not forget our dear sister Sajdah in terms of making sure that we go to her social media page. Please visit at Sajdah House on Instagram. There you will see almost a phase by phase as she's sharing and documenting the story as we move along. And Sister Sajdah, again, we're going to go ahead and put up your social media here. I think you can see that there at Sajdah House. And Brother Sadiq, if you
Yes,
have
sir. Yes,
any
sir.
any closing words for us or any points that you want to leave for our youth or your experience in this project or with Sister Sajdah herself.
Not that hasn't already been stated. Um, you know, in the example that we have,
Well, I think, Brother Sadiq, we may close right there since you're lagging a bit. We're going to get the technology on our side. Okay, so it may be the Wi-Fi or something like that, or the time. So if he comes back from the digital lag, inshallah, he can go ahead and make that statement for us. Um, so, Sister Sajdah. All right. So there was our brother Sultan Sadiq, and he was sharing on the youth project, on the youth aspect of this. So, inshallah, at this thoughts that you would want to share, because I would like us to get to some of the comments and information here that is being asked of us as well. So if please let
No,
us.
I'm open. Let's go to the comments and questions.
Okay, great. Okay, great. So, brothers, Sadiq, why don't you come on up and join us and actually work with some of the comments right now for Sister Sajdah so that we can begin to open up discussion with the members who have joined us today. And Sister Sajdah, as we do so, please just round us back to the top. Tell us a little bit again for those who have just joined us about the Sajdah House project and where you are right now and where we are. We've talked about the coins. We've talked about the youth-led project around the preservation of Table Talks. Please give us a little wrap-up, and we can then open up to the listeners.
Yes, sir. For those of you who are just joining and for those of you who don't know, Sajdah House is the former national home of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. And it is located at 4847 South Woodlawn Avenue in Chicago. And being restored and renovated into a cultural center where people will have an opportunity to come there and tour either virtually and in person the home and come to understand through the use of technology what it looked like and what it was like and what was done there, and to hear the table talks and see exhibits on the nation, and most specifically interactions and things that happened in that house. Some of you all may have heard me say that this home is the single most important piece of property in modern day African American history. Because there are more leaders that have dined and met and visited that home than any other single piece of property in the world when it comes to our history as Black people or African Americans here in America. So that's what makes it sacred. It's sacred grounds. We're excited about it. It's a labor of prayer and love and understanding how to use commerce and proper handling of people to attract people to Islam and to honor the legacy of Islam. That's also a big part of it, and just to respect what has given us life, what's given me life, Ma'am Sultan, and all, Brother Sadiq, all of us who submit to these teachings and use these teachings as our foundation for living. This is sacred space. And sacred space, even if you are not a Muslim, because there are so many people from Stokely Carmichael and, Senator Adam Clayton Powell, and those people who have been in that home and dined and met there. And the idea that I thought about is that, after civil rights, the propaganda was that we were disjointed as a people, and our people were required to pick sides. So you were either with Malcolm or Martin, but what this house demonstrates and what this house shows and what we'll be able to show through the table talks is that we were not that disjointed, because people came to meet. They came to see the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad from all walks of life. And so this idea of all of this separation and disjointedness is a little bit more of a PR campaign than it is in actuality. And people will be able to see that when they come to the home and walk through the home.
Excellent.
So we talked about that, and then the coins and all of that other stuff. But I just wanted to make that point about the house because it's very important. And as we're talking about operating platforms and databases of knowledge, one of the things I encourage people is that we have to learn how to be open and have our own personal operating platform. So even if you're not a Muslim, and if you say, well, I'm not in the nation and I don't know anything about that, you can still come and learn, because the idea is that you want to be able to sift through the information and choose what works for you and create a database for yourself that's independent of the algorithms that are dictating our lives every time we turn on the news or turn on social media.
Excellent, excellent. Sister Sajdah, we now have on the screen, I don't know if you can see that question.
Yes, sir.
It says,
I see it.
Assalamu alaikum, alhamdulillah, for the vision and productivity of this project. This is your brother Eric from Christ Universal Temple. Oh, brother Eric.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you, brother Eric. Thank you for chiming in, and thank you for your beautiful words. Thank you.
Thank you, brother Eric. And I have to speak directly to my brother. This is a brother I miss. He's, as he mentioned, from Christ Universal Temple. But this is a brother who showed up almost every week for Jummah prayer at Mosque Mariam. This is showing you the universality of the vision of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So thank you, Brother Eric, for your comment. You're a strong soldier in bringing our communities together as a black nation, as a black community for the rise of us all. So thank you, Brother Eric. And inshallah, for our moderator, please, any other comments that we may have made, we're going to pull up now. Earlier I saw my beloved Auntie Khalide, Sister Khalide Farrakhan, who was giving plenty of hand claps and shout outs and expressing her excitement about the project. Praise be to Allah. So thank you. Thank you. So any other questions that we might be able to pull up now, or comments to address from? Excellent. So mostly we have bearing of witness and comments. You know, very few questions. I think we answered, and our sisters answered them. And I have to tell you, you've been doing a wonderful work moving about. I see you in almost every vein of discussion, you know, and that's why I asked you earlier, how do you keep it together, you know? But if we can see some of those comments that are letting us know some of the feedback. Here's one up from Kian Muhammad. So the instructions weren't completely clear to me. So can you say what exactly is our? I can't read that right now.
What exactly is our task in involving this project? So.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. There was a. Thank you. Go right ahead.
But you're talking standpoint. You can DM Brother Sultan Sadiq at them Table Talks on IG, and make sure that you give him your name and information, and he can include you in some of the upcoming meetings that we're working to put together, inshallah. And if you are looking to do things or be a part of the general Sajdah House project, you them as well at Sajdah House on IG, or an email at sajdahhouse@gmail.com. We are not yet at the point where we're taking applications for workers and things like that. I had a huge rush of energy on Friday because when I met with the contractors, he turned around and he said to me, "You know, we'd be done by the summer, right?" And then all of a sudden it just hit me, and I was like, okay, let that digest. You know, even though I've been planning for that, it just to hear it, right. And he said, I'm putting the schedule together for you so that you know, and to hear that it's that close, like right around the corner. But we just have not yet gotten to the point where we're taking applications. So just hang on for that. We'll make that public when we're ready, when we start putting out the categories of staffing that we're going to be looking for. But in the meanwhile, for the youth, reaching out to our brother Sultan Sadiq is great.
Praise be to Allah. Now, that idea of making sure that we are including our youth in this project. We really want to make sure that that is something that is clear. That there's a space. The training will be provided, right? You'll be working in and with groups. This is an opportunity for you to learn about preservation. If you're interested in the history of our Nation of Islam, which we all should be, this is a place for you. This is a place that you can also connect with your peers, that are interested in similar things, similar projects. And we're talking from tech to research to installations, art, hospitality. So the range is very broad. Do not think that because you may not have experience or background in this or that, that you would not find a place. And as our sister is saying, this is a youth-led project at this point that is more about mobilizing our efforts to move around the opening phase of the Sajdah House. Our sister just said she's like, this summer, oh wow, it's upon us. Look how quickly this year has gone by. And so we're just talking a matter of what is that, 4 months or so, 3 to 4 months. So in this time frame, the youth team will be working on the preservation through a research project of the 2 transcript books of the Table Talks of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So this is a project that you'll be working on that will allow you to study and cross-reference from the 5 major writings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad with these, index them, meta tag, and also be able to receive some training and experience in information technology and the like. Praise be to Allah.
Imam Sultan, I know you and I had a conversation. We were sharing some of our different experiences with entering sacred spaces. Maybe you can talk about some of your visits to some of the Islamic palaces and just how those palaces are handled so that people understand what we're talking about.
Excellent. Well, when we look at Islam as a world, as a means that allows us to interact with each other, not only as people, but with nature and with architecture and with our worship. Everything is worship for a Muslim. So when we are entering a sacred space that is designed to evoke that sense of spirit, there are a series of activities that are part of Islamic etiquette. It's not something that is foreign. It is something that is natural to self. When we see one another, we bow, right? We give respect. We show humility. There's a certain comportment. That same comportment is there when we enter a mosque or a masjid, right? You don't go into the church hollering and, being raucous and all of that. When we enter sacred spaces as Muslims, we also find some of the same etiquette of a home. Most Muslim households that you will see, you are politely asked to remove your shoes. For instance, if any of us have had the wonderful honor to visit the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan there at the National House, the Palace here in Chicago, which is also the home of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that he had built during his stay at 4847 South Woodlawn. That home was built from the ground up. When you go into the home, you are politely ushered to a room. You remove your shoes. You put on your little booties, your little socks on top of the socks, right? To keep a sense of humility, all right? And as a Muslim, if we're entering a mosque in particular, we enter with the right foot, right? There's a practice of Muhammad, peace be upon him, of doing things with the right to represent righteousness. So you enter the prayer hall with your right foot, and you say to Allah, you make a prayer. Oh Allah, open up your doors of mercy, right? So when you're going into a sacred space, you're asking for Allah to give of himself in a merciful manner, like a prayer. We then go to wash our hands, before we go into the sacred spaces. As Muslims, we wash our hands 3 times, with ablution, the mouth, the nose, the face, the arms, our feet. We make an ablution, a baptism, if you will, that allows us to mentally prepare ourselves in terms of purification as well as physically. So these are all things or activities that we do that help elicit the spirit of worship, the spirit of adoration, the spirit of submission and surrender to Allah's will. Our clothing. We don't just go to the mosque or our churches and houses of worship in just, what are these little, I don't want to call it what the word is, these little t-shirts with no arms. They call it wife beaters, but I hate that term. Okay.
Tank top.
Yeah, little tank tops. We don't go to the mosque with tank tops or our church with tank tops. We dress with a manner of lifting ourselves up and showing our cleanliness, our beautification of self as a creation of God, as ones that are coming directly from God. So, and it reminds me of this. It was a story my grandfather, Jabir Herbert Muhammad, may Allah be pleased with him, told me of how the Honorable Elijah Muhammad respected the space that he was in. He said in the home, he told me one day, he said, my father never came out of his room unless he was fully suited and had a tie on. He said, he said, I was up in age when I first saw him, even in night clothes. So those of us who walk around the house any fashion at all, know that our home is a sacred space, the living room, right? And especially being in quarantine. If we don't begin to set spaces in our own home, that's the office. So I have something I wear that puts me in an office mentality or work mentality. Or this is my prayer room. There's aspects that we, or things that we do that curate the space, the rooms that we're in. In a mosque, you'll see the beautiful mimbar, right? You'll see where the one teaching gives the lesson or khutbah or speech for that day, or the mihrab, something that's beautifully designed on the wall to show you which way east is. So all said, we're talking about a spiritual orientation into a space, a spiritual orientation that is rooted and grounded in what may seem to be, for some, activities that may or may not have meaning, but that depends on your heart, right? So just washing your hands, no. How am I washing my hands? What is the thought behind the washing of hands? Oh Allah, I may have written something today to someone that offended them. I may have done something with this hand, that has wronged my own heart or own soul. Oh Allah, purify me of these things, right? So that we enter the space spiritually, mentally, and physically clear and clean. Praise be to Allah. And we have a question here. I hope that answered some of your thoughts, Sister Sajdah. So here we have Assalamu alaikum and happy Savior's Day. It is upon us. Please make sure you're sending in your Savior's Day gift to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It is right around the corner. This year is going to be a new type of Savior's Day for us since we're in quarantine. But Allah willing, we know that wherever the believers gather, whether it's virtual or in physical spaces, that our spirit will shine. Praise be to Allah. So we have a question from Pamela Fudge. Assalamu alaikum, happy Savior's Day. These are kind of being blocked here from me.
Is there a starting age?
Please go ahead, Sister Sajdah. You can see them better than me right there.
Yes, sir. Is there a starting age, and do you have to live in Chicago?
Excellent
so,
question.
Sister Pamela, wa alaikum salam. I think you're referring to so let me explain this. The youth have to be old enough. Yes, sir. The youth have to be old enough to be able to contribute. They can't be a behavioral challenge and so young that they're a behavioral or a disciplinary challenge for Brother Sadiq. We don't want him to feel like he's babysitting. I just want to speak straight words. This is a serious endeavor, and so I won't put an age on it. But what I will say is that the youth have to be at an age where they can contribute, discipline themselves, and be able to handle a full day of work and a level of commitment similar to an adult, and similar to the way that Brother Sadiq has dedicated in just the planning stages. Because as you all know, when you're working on a project, it's not just about rolling it out. I mean, he's been working diligently on planning and putting together working documents and expanding his vision and working with us to just make sure that it all makes sense. So the youth cannot be a behavioral challenge for the leaders of the team, and that will be at his discretion. And if he sees that somebody becomes a disciplinary challenge, or he has the full right to remove them as the team leader. So we want people who are serious and who are able, because we're not at this phase in a teaching phase, so they won't be coming to a classroom. They'll be coming to develop the exhibit and the classroom.
Excellent.
I hope that makes sense.
No, it does. And, that is extremely important, because our sister noticed she did not put an age on it, right? It's about where you are in your level of maturity, right? We know, and Sister Sajdah, you can speak to this, our sister that's a daughter of one of our student ministers in Houston, Brother Student Minister Eric Muhammad. Maybe you can explain some of her background, her age, and what it is that she may be working on with us in the project, so the youth can get an idea of age and acumen.
I would need Sadiq to talk more about her age. I don't want to disrespect her accomplishments. I know she's an amazing young sister, and she's younger. Brother Sadiq, if he's around, he can talk about that a little better than I can.
Oh, no, he's not. Sadiq, Brother Sultan.
It's okay.
Okay. So we had some more comments. If you want to put those up. Okay. In terms of business, where can we learn about the many Muslim businesses created by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as well as those created by his followers? Thank you, Sister Natalie Muhammad. Thank you, Sister Natalie. Go right ahead, Sister Sajdah.
That has been something that we've been working to pull together, because some of our exhibits are going to showcase those nation businesses. And so between the table talks, between the historic Muhammad Speaks newspapers, between Savior's Day lectures, that is how we've been pulling together all of this data. And as I mentioned, anybody that has video footage, we welcome it. That is something that we're currently short of right now, especially video footage of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and in the businesses. That is going to be powerful.
Very,
And again,
very.
these are things, Imam Sultan, that the public has not necessarily seen. So, oh, good. Sister Wakiti said, Sister Kudisa, she's 16 and a graduate from college. She will be helping with the research.
Excellent.
That's Brother Aaron's daughter.
Thank you, Sister Wakiti. And Sister Kudisa, if you run across this, we're looking forward to your contribution. And if you look at that,
Yes,
she's
we
16
welcome her.
and
Yes,
graduated from
college
college.
graduate.
That is the product of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And blessed to, as well, my son Sadiq graduated from high school went into college at 16. And his little brother Ali went in at 15, starting university at UIC. So praise be to Allah. That is something that we really, really encourage, is the youth to get involved, so that we are not holding back, because the enemy's world is designed to stunt the growth of our youth. This baby boy mentality, 30 years old, 25 years old, this stunting of who we are and what can be contributed is consistently something that has to be overcome. And I thank Allah again for you and this intergenerational framework that's being established. Praise be to Allah.
Yes.
So praise be to Allah. Those were all of the main comments that were posted. There were many more, a lot of witness bearing. Praise be to Allah. And if there were any other questions from those viewers, you can add them now before we close out. And if we did not get to a question or missed your question for any reason, we will respond to that when we go back to review. Praise be to Allah. So I just want to make sure that we know to visit sajdahhouse.com. sajdahhouse.com. Look for our dear sister on many of the platforms and media that you may see her moving around the country, virtually and physically as well, to make this happen. So make sure that you are contributing as well, and that you are also getting your memento. Please lift it up, your memento of the coin from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's home. And our dear sister Wendy will show that to us again, and we will make sure that we post in the comments at Sajdah House. Please post that in the comments so that folks can go visit her social media page. And we're posting also in the comments sajdahhouse.com, where you can pick up your gold coin. Is there a special name for the coin?
It's a copper. So House commemorative Elijah coin.
There it is. Sajdah House. There you go.
Yeah, commemorative Elijah coin.
Beautiful. So get your Sajdah House commemorative Elijah coin at sajdahhouse.com right away. I don't believe these will be around long. They are only a few made. I don't believe that was mentioned. There are only a few, only a certain number that are made, and they are numbered. So this is a collector's item, inshallah.
Yeah, you got a barcode. Each one has its own
its own
barcode.
There it
Yeah.
is. And here we have Lestine Warren Muhammad. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I am so excited. And Sajdah House, about Sajdah House and all who have been blessed to be on the ground floor of this righteous endeavor. I pray to also be of use in some capacity. Praise be to Allah. Praise be to Allah. So you see, Sister Sajdah, you're energizing, our community. You're energizing our nation. You're energizing the believers to really take another look at our history. Many times we can be so focused on the now or what we think we know that we don't do ourselves justice by going back and studying the history and seeing that we can always learn something new. And again, to the point we were making with Brother Sultan Sadiq earlier, one little thing, one small thing can completely make you whole. Completely make you whole. And again,
Right.
that was my experience
That is so
in the table talks of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Right.
Just hearing something in a slightly different manner represented to you can make you completely whole. So I thank Allah for you, Sister Sajdah, for really putting your effort, your resources, and your commitment behind something that will also allow us to begin to take the Table Talks project to its original home, right there at 4847 South Woodlawn, where they were recorded. And we thank Allah for you. And on that note, our brother has asked, do you collaborate across the nation? Yes, she's collaborating across the nation. Please visit her at sajdahhouse.com. Visit her at her social media. The links are all in the comments. At Sajdah House, SAJDAH. You can find her on Instagram and, of course, at her website. Brother Joseph Muhammad, Professor Ambers in San Diego would be interested in this. Do you collaborate? Yes. Please forward. You can visit tabletalks.org or info at tabletalks.org. You can email us. So if you can place our email in the comments button or box, our email in the comments box for any collaborative efforts that are desired from institution to institution. So praise be to Allah. So on that note, we thank all for joining us. And as I said, if there's any closing words you would like to leave us with, Sister Sajdah, you have the stage. Praise be to Allah.
I'm just honored. This is one of the greatest blessings of my life. Not just the house and the acquisition of it, but what it means and what it means to me to be able to serve my nation and demonstrate my love for my nation, my love for Master Prophet Muhammad, my love for the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, my love for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I've always said that I don't know how I could show my love for the minister. And then it's like Allah said, this is how you can do it. And so I am so grateful, just full of gratitude. So when you see me grand opening week and all I'm doing is crying, just understand why. Because that's going to be the reality. Everybody's going to know. Just let her have her moment. I cried when I got the coin. So that's just, it just means so much. It just means so much to me. And that Allah would entrust me with this sacred space. And I thank you all for your support, your words, your questions, and and inshallah, we'll just keep moving forward and keep praying for continued progress and continued blessings.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you for joining us today. Inshallah, this will be posted for replay, and we hope again to see you soon. Again, this is not a show as such. This is a discussion between brothers and sisters at tabletalks.org. So welcome to the table. Praise be to Allah.
Welcome to the table.
We're here. We're ready to serve our nation and community in this preservation project. And we thank you for joining us today. And inshallah, until next time, we greet you with the greeting words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Okay. Are we